Hello, everybody. Welcome on into another stream. So, you guys may have heard the news of the announcement already, fresh from the Game Awards show. I was in the middle of eating dinner and had just finished when Mortis was freaking out on the Discord. I'm like, oh no, Elden Ring news, like unironically, definitely caught me by surprise. So I had actually tried making a bit of a reaction video to it, but a pro streamer also doesn't just only record their display, they also record their voice. So long story short, I am not a pro content creator. I had all my stuff ready to go without any audio, essentially, which really sucks. But anyway, I've looked into more information as much as I could right before going live today for Nightreign. So, in conjunction with the trailer announcement, there was a Japanese dev interview with the director on Famitsu, and that one gives us a bit more insight into the game. So, um, what was revealed in the dev interview was much different than what I was expecting with an Elden Ring title. I initially thought this was a DLC, but this is going to be its own standalone game, as you guys are talking already. So, right. I'm not sure if I want to talk about what happened in the interview first, because my initial reaction when seeing a trailer for a FromSoft game and Elden Ring and whatnot is talking about what I see from it in a lore perspective, which was what I was trying to do earlier in my failed reaction video. But that doesn't exactly work this time around, because essentially what we're going to see is going to be non-canon content. And Zionis, thank you so much for continuing your membership for 39 months. Man, over 3 years. That's wild. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. May chaos take the world indeed. So, speaking of chaos, we're definitely going to be seeing some chaotic things in the trailer. So, okay, I think I'll go through it. I won't go as over lore things as I normally would have, because it may be inconsequential in the grand scope of things. But anyway, everybody, welcome on in. I appreciate you all here so early in the stream, especially last moment. I'm not even on the live chat. Okay. There might be lore, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be canon. Yeah, I was just so excited when I saw this trailer. I was losing my mind. And then when I realized it's literally Nameless King, I was like, what? Anyway, that may have been a spoiler if you guys didn't see it for one reason or another. So anyway, if you're under 17, get out of stream. Yeah, so I did notice these smoky things looked like Titans my first time watching it. I was like, wait a second, what's this? I'm trying to analyze. We have a rise. I don't know why I'm skipping. I'm going to blame YouTube, because I preloaded the video and everything. It's doing the auto quality. That sucks so bad. Is that 4K earlier? I watched it through. I hate what the modern internet has become. All right, let's do the YouTube trick. No, it's not even working this way. It's killing my mojo, guys. So yeah, when I saw the ghost flame and whatnot, I was like, oh my god, ghost flame! Is this the helping? And then when I saw this next scene with the dude running, I was like, is that a basilisk? Oh no, is it death, right? Death blight? But no, it's just the dude with the sword on his back. Might as well just 1080p it? Yeah, maybe. I can only stream at 720p regardless, but I thought that was a basilisk. I was like, oh man, the trees are turning gray. And I was like, oh man, does this have any connection to what's going on with Faraam? Maybe, maybe not. I was really excited, and then I lost my mind again when I noticed that there were Faraam and crumbling ruins all over the ground in places. I was like, where is this?
Redemption.
Oh, this one has subtitles. Okay.
Thrown together by forces beyond their control.
Yeah, and this right here reminded me of the, what are they called? The concept art for Deeproot Depths, when you could see the giants in the Deeproot Depths, but it doesn't really look like that. These kind of reminded me of the sunflower from the Shadow Tree, but like I said, it might not be canon. We have a random hung commoner soldier type guy. I forget what they're called. And then a spider, which is, scary. Come on, YouTubes. It's so annoying to me because it says it's buffered, but it's not. This is why I hate auto. It does look different from a Bloodborne spider, but this right here, it took me a while to notice. I think it was on my third one, because I, excuse me, on the second time through, I thought it was the dragon that had its like head split open that we'll see later. But I like paused it on this frame the third time I was watching the trailer and I'm like, wait a second. That's the frickin' centipede demon. Like, I was like, oh man, look, centipede head. Wait a second. This, like, the arm just gave it away. This is like a full-on asset reuse of the centipede demon, it seems. So maybe they fixed its AI. Maybe it'll have more than 2 attacks, though. The game changes between sessions? Yes. So this is going to actually be more of a roguelite than a traditional game like that. Come on, bro. Let's take off auto. Here we go. So, as you guys may have seen, we've got a demi-human-esque looking like dude, guy with a hawk's head and a hawk wing. It turns out, we'll look at the dev interview in a little bit. There's going to be 8 playable classes. So, there's no like custom creator. You're not going to be tarnished. You're going to be a like a night walker or something like that. And then I originally thought that this is like showing off actual Limgrave because of the Godric bro. And then I was coping that I was like, oh, well, they're probably just like showing off these moves in Limgrave on like enemies that we've seen. And then I was like, wait a second. The second time around, I saw more Godric bros and I'm like, wait, this isn't Limgrave, but the here. And then I was like, well, I guess in the Shadow of the Erdtree trailer, they showed enemies where they didn't end up being. Because like when you fight Rilana in that arena in the final version of the DLC, they showed off like a random like Mesmer Black Knight. So that's kind of what I was thinking at first, but we might actually be fighting Godric bros and whatnot as well. And I was super hyped when I saw this. Like, look at that air. And not only does he get air, he actually moves somewhat forward rather than just like falling off the edge of the world like the Crucible things. So we might have more mobility options in this version of the game. And then, of course, we've got the Zamorian, which is a little bit terrifying because these dudes are pretty hard to kill. Ah, what a noob, he got wrecked.
Tragedy must be averted.
And so this was really wild because obviously she looks like a foil to Melina with a white cloak and like blonde hair. And when Melina goes into the Lord of the Frenzied Flame ending, she has black hair. Maybe her hair is supposed to be white. But also the thing on her face is very reminiscent of the mask on the Firekeeper in Dark Souls 3. I don't think it's supposed to be one and the same, but I believe this might just be one of the 8 playable classes or characters you can pick. Because I believe we see her elsewhere as well. And then her brooch on, like the clasp on her cloak reminded me of Melina's cloak as well. And this damn part of the theme reminds me of a freaking Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets theme song right there. Scalzi says Glowmite Queen are calling it. Everybody's calling it. Is this literally every game combined? It seems that way. Right before going live on the Discord, somebody was pointing out that Duke Steer Freya looks like she's in the game. I kind of thought it was the armored demon spider in Demon Souls, but maybe it's Freya instead. So there might be a little bit less Demon Souls representation, but it's supposed to be based in Elden Ring, but the fact that we're going to literally see the Nameless King in a moment just had me go like, wait, what? How? I was like, are these games actually combined? This does seem to be more of a greatest hits album, as I think Scowlezy was joking a moment ago. Yeah.
And for that, I need your help.
And so this dude kind of looks more like a Kaiden warrior, and I was like, oh man, if this place is like where the true storm reigned, we would like learn so much because we've got all these Faraam Zulin ruins. This dude looks like a Kaiden warrior. When you see the close-up of his axe in a little bit, it looks kind of reminiscent of like Godfrey's weapon designs. this is really exciting because you get what I was wondering. Oh, maybe it's the Stormhawk King. You know, not really, but it looks like instead of a spirit spring, you have like a spirit tree to fly around in this lava zone. Lucia says Zamorian feeties. Unironically, I did pause the trailer when I watched it the second time around to double count the amount of toes that it had for that Miyazaki foot lore.
Stand tall. The night is far from over.
And then I lost my mind when I saw, well, not only the Nameless King right here, but this part right here. I was like, oh my god, you could parkour? Because I was originally thinking this was a DLC because it looks visually the same as Elden Ring. So I lost my mind here. And then I lost my mind at like the little foiling on the walls. I'm like, oh my god, that's Nox. And then we like got up here. I'm like, oh my god, it is the Nox. And then I was like absolutely losing my poop. And there's also a figure of a person up here that's really hard to make out. They have like a cloak. They seem to be pretty tall, but they're like smaller or thinner than an omen. So I have no idea what this guy is essentially. So I was like, oh man, we're finally going to learn more about the Nox and what happened and all this stuff and like my initial reactions. But nope, Chuck Testa. This is essentially going to be non-canonically relevant to Elden Ring based off of how that interview sounded. Now, with that being said, I would not be shocked if we got some like secondary lore revelations, but maybe nothing like super important or concrete. And if this is supposed to take place in a kind of parallel Limgrave type region, we're entering multiverse territory, which kind of throws out how canonically we should take it as being relevant to the base game as well. Mao's crackpot theory is that this is supposed to take place in the Age of the Stars and we're going to kill our Elden Ring character. That's kind of what I was wondering as well, because we're supposed to kill like the Lord of the Night and whatnot. Without Horn says this is not a DLC. That is correct. This will be a new standalone game in 2025. So, Jason, it should not detract from the main story. But I'm sure a lot of people are definitely going to feel a certain kind of way from this. Like, as soon as I saw the Nameless King, I was like, wait, what? Because, I mean, just that silhouette is so damn iconic. I mean, it'll be really cool to see him in higher res, but this kind of threw me for a loop. Like, I was like, is this just a normal dude? Is this the Nameless King? Are they just reusing assets even more lazily than they had in the past? I did not know what to make of this. So, yes, it seems like we're having returning enemies from the previous games. I'm assuming they're going to have much different movesets because there's some gameplay stuff that I've not talked about, which will make this make a bit more sense. Lots of people are salty. I'm a little bit salty, to be honest. And then, like, when he pulled out the lightning bolt, I was like, there is no freaking way. How is, like, literally the Nameless King in here? I was losing my mind. And then we had an omen here in like the Blackstone Rao ruin type place, presumably the lava area that we saw earlier, but it's kind of a real big bummer that this might not be all that canon.
Bent on stacking the lands of gold, I will swat away.
And this also sounds like Morgoth's voice actor talking right now, which is really fun. Frenzy, or Zionis is frenzied, 100% salted. Yeah. Lucia just wants to play it. I'm shocked that it's like confirmed for next year still. I guess that explains why Shadow of the Erdtree took so long to produce, because they're also like cooking on this stuff as well. It takes place in a dream. It kind of does in a way, but who knows? Moth says you will play the crap out of this, but you want a solo option at least. The dev interview does talk about that, but it doesn't sound like it's intended for solo play. But he said you could pretty much go slower and deal with it as a solo player. So I'll talk about that as soon as I finish the trailer.
Any and all who dare approach.
And then when I saw this, I was like, hell yeah, this is the exact kind of thing that I love to see, because Baphomet is kind of cool as hell. I was like, oh my god, it's a hand. And then, oh my god, it's got like goat eyes and it's horns with eyes and whatnot. and like all these other eyes. Like, this is just so creepy. It's so cool. And then I was like, oh my god, it's got a new magic sigil. We have new magic confirmed. And so this guy's really cool. Don't know what his deal is whatsoever. At first I was like, is this supposed to be like an eye of death? Are we gonna have to deal with like death bite? But wait, it's got goat pupils, so maybe not. And then I was like, what the hell is this? This looks like Pontiff Sullivan's beast with 3 heads. And then it did like the Sif type attack. I was like, oh my god, it's a Sully beast with 3 heads and a Sif attack. And then I noticed that actually its sword is more like a whip blade, kind of like Ivy from Soul Calibur, if you guys ever played that. So yeah, it's a whip sword, which, I mean, this thing is super cool. And then it gets even cooler somehow. Get wrecked, Alpha Nod. So, like, splits into 3 flames, like QB style, and then turns into 3 wolves to wreck each individual player. And yeah, I was also, like, losing my mind. I'm like, oh my god, they pulled an Evangelion again. And with, like, the flags in the background and whatnot. And then I was wondering, I'm like, oh my god, is this, like, the Elden Beast Arena with the trees in the background? And is this, like, the end of Dark Souls 3 with, like, Father Gale? Or Slave Knight Gale, rather.
Together and prepare to claim.
And then I was like, oh man, this looks like it should be part of a tree because of like this stuff. And like, is this supposed to be kind of similar to the door behind the throne in the Erdtree, like in Lane-Dell?
Life of
This is the Ring City in the future, or Ashen Lane-Dell. Maybe we're visiting Londo.
the Night Lord.
Londor. So Elden Ring Nightreign. It really does have like the Harry Potter theme right there. What the hell? So yeah, I lost my mind. I'm pretty sure everybody did. I had heard rumors like yesterday or 2 days ago saying something about Nightreign, but like, yeah, whatever. I've heard that rumor before. So I didn't believe anything because that's my default at this point in my life. I don't believe anything until after it's out. So, okay. Now, with all that said, I want to welcome in everybody who's joining more properly again. So, normally I would like to give a huge lore rundown of what we just watched, but based off of what was talked about in the interview in Famitsu, I should drop the link for you guys. Do I have it? Yes. Okay. So, where's my chat? There it is. Here is the Famitsu link. I don't know if it's been translated anywhere yet. So, right before stream went live, I was trying to frantically paste portions of it onto Deep L, so that way I could share it with you guys. Can I even do this? I don't know how to actually drag a full browser window to the next thing. Oh, I'm an idiot. Just stop grabbing the tab. So, I like looked into the Famitsu interview. You guys could like Deep L the things itself, but I don't really feel like reading everything line by line. Some things were a little bit off on the Deep L thing because I was comparing it. I think there's one point where they talk about the tarnished. Okay, so in other words, the player character in this game is not a fated person, and then Ishizaki says, yes, they are. This is one of those funny things in Japanese where I've talked about this with the community, that if you pose a question as a negative in Japanese and then somebody says hi, like they respond to it, that isn't to say that they're like disagreeing. Like we can have that happen in English. Hi kind of just means more like correct. So right here, the fated person. Yeah, so he says, in other words, in the original version, hold on, let me actually try to English this. Okay, in other words, is the player character not a tarnished like in the original game? And then the director Ishizaki, who is not Miyazaki, says, yes, that's how it will be essentially. So, are we not tarnished? Yes, that's correct. We will not be tarnished. In instead, we're going to be essentially be called like night walkers or night crossers, night travelers, something along those lines. Um, so, with that being said, our player character in this creation is not tarnished. We're night walkers, and I don't remember where he said that it wasn't canon. It was in this one. Nope, not this one. I don't remember where it was, but he says pretty much that they're using Elden Ring as the setting, kind of like a parallel type place for it, where like after the end of 3 days, the Night King, the Night Lord, Lord of the Night, whatever it is, he'll show up, and then you fight him at the end of 3 days, and you fight one boss at the end of each day. And so this is essentially supposed to be like a roguelite or a roguelike, where you and up to two other players will connect in and like load into a kind of semi-randomized zone, go through like dungeons, try to find treasures, and survive each night up until the end of the third night, where you'll fight like the Night Lord guy and potentially beat the game. So later on at the very end of the interview, they were asking like how long it should take, and our guy, the director, said it should take about 40 minutes to survive like the third day, he said. So if the third day is 40 minutes, then we could extrapolate that maybe it's about an hour on average for each day. So maybe about 3 hours to like beat a campaign, I'm assuming, but I don't exactly know the particulars. So yeah. Oh yeah, I don't think I actually said it. So one of the big differences is you don't necessarily make your own character for Nightreign, and instead you are given 8 pre-built character classes. And so we've seen a couple of them. I'll pull the trailer back up. So we have like that demi-human dude with the wing. I think that fake Firekeeper girl might be one of them, the one that looks like Alphanod. Then we have like this Karian Royal Knight looking like guy, and then the Kaiden dude. So I think we've seen 4. Oh, and then there's the Robin Hood guy. That's not him. So that's the Alphanod girl. I don't know if that's supposed to be like the Melina Firekeeper type lady, but she looks similar because she has something on her face. So this is the Hawk. And then where is our really cool Robin Hood guy? Right around here. Yeah, there is the Robin Hood dude who has like a scale armor type on. So that's potentially like 5 individuals that we've seen of the 8 announced. And I may have like missed some more. Jack says, as long as it plays like Elden Ring, you're excited. So I am very on the fence about this. Because I like to play solo, and I'm very tempted to go through solo, and I just don't know how much longevity a game like this is going to have. Because honestly, most of my time spent playing Elden Ring is not with the game loaded, and it's like looking at item descriptions, or when I am playing the game, kind of like looking for archaeological type information that I can cobble together for like lore theorizing. So if the lore for this game isn't as like consequential, that's probably going to kill a lot of my enthusiasm for it, unfortunately. It'll be cool to see what they do with characters like the Nameless King and especially like the Centipede Demon, if it's actually good. But also like just the enemy design is really cool in general. But with a lot of it being so reused, aside from like the Baphomet thing, I don't know if I'm actually even going to pick it up at this point, other than like maybe for content reasons. Because if like the full campaign is essentially supposed to be a 3-hour thing, and you just repeat it over and over, and like get more relics to upgrade your like passive stats, which is a feature that they're going to have into the game to make it more of like a roguelite. Because at the end of every campaign, you'll be reset down to level 1. So that's why it's like a roguelite, and like the environment is supposed to be randomized. But yeah. As I was saying earlier, the director said that this is supposed to be designed for like 3 people in mind. People can play it solo, and so like what I interpreted from that was that this might be pretty much exactly like what happened with the DLCs in Dark Souls 2, where you had a quote unquote co-op zone, which is supposed to be done with multiple players, was just kind of a terrible nightmare as a solo player to like go through the frigid outskirts alone, or that damn cave in Shulva. So I'm really apprehensive about that aspect of the game. Yeah, the trailer definitely came out of nowhere. Miyazaki bamboozled the hell out of us. He's like, oh yeah, there's no more Elden Ring content, idiots. At least not games. But yeah, maybe we'll make a miniseries. He didn't say that, but I mean, that's kind of the vibe that I was getting. I was like, oh, I expect to get like a miniseries that's like going over Jar Jar Martin's manuscripts, but no. He lied to us, guys. He done us dirty. He had his team working on a completely different game. So, from what I understand, the director for this game was the guy who did the battle design for Elden Ring itself. And he said that like the attacks will be a lot more, trying to think of the right word, like bombastic than an Elden Ring. So they could like do a bit more. And obviously with like the hawk guy flying up and then the Karian Royal Knight looking like dude riding the Spirit Hawk to different places and being able to parkour up walls, we might have more movement options in general, which seems really cool. But yeah, after playing through Armored Core 6, I was like, this is kind of what we need to be able to keep up to speed in a fight with Radahn. Like, we need a lot more mobility options or just like combat tools to not be left flat-footed against bosses which are teleporting around the screen so much. It's not like this is his only game, so you don't see the hate. Can you still get unique weapons? What do you mean by like unique weapons? Like, I think so. So I like skimmed the interview earlier. There are going to be like really good weapons that have like really good effects. So if you find it with one character, you might want to pick it up regardless, even if that's like not the type of weapon that you enjoy using, because maybe your ally does as well. So, in some ways, it kind of reminds me of like a battle royale where it seems like loot is going to be randomized and you'll need to go out and find it and like kill things. So it's, I don't know, because obviously with them working on trying to create an environment where three people can simultaneously have a challenge against what the game throws at them, that in the long term could be a really good thing if they get it right, because that's probably been one of the biggest weaknesses of the FromSoft games. And that could be, this could be like a launching point for projects that they're going to work on in the future. So maybe this is just like a design sandbox for them to learn from and improve on later. Maybe. I don't know. Scaleezy says, from what Loki is reading, it's a procedural dungeon crawler set in Rimbuild. Many dungeons, enemies, weapons, and items change every playthrough. You explore and level up over 3 days. Yes, that's what I saw as well. So it's not Limgrave, it's like Limbeld, we'll see what it's actually called. Probably like Limvelt would be my guess. Maybe not. Muramasa wants Dark Souls 4, Dark Souls Remake at this point. Feels like it'll be just a death ball, like usual co-op, no PvP either. Yes, that's true. Thanks for reminding me. So yes, the director in the interview did say that there was no plans for PvP at all, which is also going to be quite disappointing. But I'm sure if you like play on PC, they'll probably like mod it in somehow. Are there any persistent rewards, or is it one and done games like League of Legends? So Ishizaki did say that there's going to be relics, and the relics will function similarly to like the blood gems in Bloodborne, in that they will give your characters like passive stats. So that way you have like something that carries over with you at level 1 on the next playthrough. And you can also gain experience and marks or whatever they're called to spend to buy relics at the like round table hold that you go to during the day when like everybody dies essentially. So I don't know how robust of a system that's going to be, or like how powerful these relics are going to be. So it's kind of hard to say, because it maybe if you get like a relic which boosts your experience gain like 300%, that'll be like what can allow you to get enough stat points to even like fight the Night King essentially. Or maybe it's essentially like a BL1 run, or I guess BL1 isn't even a thing because Bloodborne's BL4. Like an RL1 run or a Soul Level 1 run in the other games when you first load up without any relics. Jason's going to maintain optimism, but co-op just ain't your thing. And that's one of the things that I'm very apprehensive about as well, because like if this is specifically balanced for 3 people, but they said they wanted to have like soft connections, and they don't want to have like a fully I should mention this stuff as well. So in the interview, Ishizaki said that they kind of want it to be similar to the way that multiplayer already functions in the Souls games. So they don't want to have like a voice system or messages that you relay between people, but you'll be able to like place like pings on the map or something like that. And that'll pretty much be your only communication besides like whatever you do with like external programs. So I'm assuming he's like making references to things like Discord or Ventrilo. But anyway, so if it's going to have the same wonky FromSoft co-op where it's kind of a pain in the ass to connect to players, that makes me really apprehensive about this game. So I was extremely excited when I first saw the trailer and the news, but like the more I've learned, the more I've really cooled off to the idea. Now I'm like probably leaning towards not getting it unless I see something where I'm like, okay, now I feel like I have to get it. Because if it's a game that's essentially supposed to like last 3 hours, but there is going to be a bit of RNG, so maybe, you know, there's be a little bit of replayability to it, then how many times do I need to play it? How many bosses are there going to be? Like a roguelike could be good, especially if the enemies change things up, but seeing things that are completely ripped from previous games, like base Elden Ring, like the Godric Soldiers, the Exile Knights, the Banished Knights, if they don't have like updated movesets or like certain kind of like buffs or something, it's going to be a much harder sell for me, which is really surprising. Like this is definitely struck me by surprise feeling this way. Future Warrior, will you need to team up with people or can you go solo? So Ishizaki-san does say that you can go solo, but the game is meant to be designed for the challenge of 3 players. So as I was saying earlier, this might be akin to going through like the frigid outskirts in Dark Souls 2, or through the one cave, which name I can never remember, in Shova in Dark Souls 2. Jack Irish says, how many weapons will there be? I'm not sure. So we have 8 base classes, and I don't know if that means we have like base, like all the same weapons from Elden Ring plus a couple different ones, because we did have like a scorpion type move, like get over here, which looked really cool on like the buckler for our guy. And this dude has a bow or something like that. So it looks like pretty much the normal things. I haven't seen anything like super crazy yet. Oh, here's the get over here part. So, like, this is on the buckler. Ishizaki did say that they had things like Ashes of War, but they're different. I didn't have enough time to fully parse through it, unfortunately. Lucia said, they stated that they want everything unlocked in-game and there's no microtransactions. Okay, I don't think I saw that. Yeah, so this must be the grappling hook guy. And then our Alpha Nod girl guy. Can't tell. Girl. So yeah, being able to fly around looks super cool though. But maybe it's not like an actual mobility thing. And so yeah, I was excited to see the crumbling ruins of Faraam, but you know, no lore relevance maybe.
Tragedy must be averted.
Oh yeah, so this is where I was saying like it looks like Godfrey's pattern type thing on the axe itself. It's Lothar Castle. Each character has unique ultimate. Okay, cool. So yeah, there's something about like Ashes of War and like other types of skills, but I didn't have enough time to like look through it entirely. It'd be cool if they brought back weapons from previous games. I mean, that wouldn't surprise me if we have bosses like literally Nameless King.
And for that, I need your help.
I was like, oh man, we have like a Kaiden warrior. Nope. Who knows? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Oh yeah, and so the way that you actually revive your allies is that you attack them. So if your friend dies, you hit their body with your attack. So if you have like a ranged spell, you're better at reviving people, I guess. But with the slam, with the AoE, I'm assuming that's how he revives his ally. Mortis wonders if the game will get big content updates despite not being a live service. That would be a smart thing for them to do if they wanted to like remain relevant. But that's also kind of scary because that could be a very slippery slope into paid content releases. Future Warrior says, if co-op is reliant on PSN/PS Plus, then that's a real cold shower moment. A lot of excitement just left you thinking about it. Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be cross-platform as well, but you bring up a good point with consoles kind of being real jerks about that market. So I have no idea what the offline functionality of this game will be, so we'll have to wait and see. Just because they say you can play the game solo, that doesn't mean you can play it solo offline, right? I would like to give FromSoft the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, going into 2025, it wouldn't surprise me if even they're trying to make their players warm up to that kind of model in the future. The IGN interview confirmed it's not cross-platform. Wait, so what? Okay, so by cross-platform, I mean it's probably going to release on multiple platforms, right? I probably shouldn't call it cross-platform that way because that could imply like cross-platform functionality, like PC talks to PS5 and vice versa. There's an IGN interview. I didn't even know that. Jesse says having to pay to play with friends is blah. Yeah. Made Up says, did Sony purchase FromSoft for sure? No. So I don't know why so many damn news content creators are trying to say like Sony's buying FromSoft. That's a very big mischaracterization of things. So Sony is trying to buy Kadokawa, which does indeed own FromSoft, but Kadokawa is like one of the largest like manga and anime distributors around. So it's not as though they're like trying to get Kadokawa just so they can make Bloodborne 2 or something like that. But that's kind of the way like a lot of people seem to be framing it. It's really weird. I mean, which isn't to say that they couldn't do that, but it's a lot bigger for Sony than just FromSoft, believe you and me. All right, thank you, Mortis. Appreciate that. So yeah, no Xbox players playing with PS players. That would definitely be a bummer if you have a friend who's on a different console and you can't co-op with them. That's a really big missed opportunity.
Stand tall. The night is far from over.
All right, so that dialogue did not sound like Morgoth, but then the next one does. Or should I call him Margit? Or let's call him Margfroy, because this is, Limvelt, whatever it is. Whatever. Berudo? Like, it kind of makes me sick seeing, like, the actual Nameless King. It's like, bro, like, make the Drake red, take off the damn wig, and give him red lightning. At least something. Like, it feels a little bit too cheesy even for me. Well, I could, like, buy it if they didn't just call it, like, Elden Ring, but if they called it, like, something more generic, like FromSoft I don't know, mashups. Who cares?
Bent on stacking the lands of gold, I will swat away any and all who...
Yeah, Hilko said it looks like a mod, to be honest. That was kind of... When I was originally reacting to it and I saw him, the Nameless King, I was like, this just kind of looks like a mod because like our alpha nods textures are so much higher resolution than everything else. If I just saw like this scene on its own before this trailer dropped, I would have assumed that somebody was like modding a bunch of garbage together
is far from over.
and calling it like a new Elden Ring game. Cause like this, it just like the fidelity is just so different in terms of like the lighting and whatnot. Transitory lands. Like this looks so fake, but it's real.
Little pillager, bent on stacking the lands.
But like this design was super cool. So it's really cool being able to see some new things, but then like there's not enough new things to like make people like, oh yeah, automatic buy, especially like with all this other info, which is really shocking to say, honestly.
I will swat away.
It gives reason for Dark Souls characters in the interview. It says they've been summoned by the King of the Night. Oh, wait, which interview is that? Was that the Famitsu one? Maybe I just didn't. I mean, I was trying to speed read and like deal with medicating my dogs right before stream, so I didn't have enough time to like read as closely as I wanted.
Any and all who dare approach.
And I feel like I've seen that dog elsewhere other than just the Solive Beast. And like this kind of reminds me of the beach with Radahn as well. Obviously it helps having these like flagstaffs there. The standalone convergence mod, exactly.
Band together.
Like what was that one like fake Bloodborne Elden Ring mod where they're like trying to make it all gothic and Victorian? Like that one almost seems more official now that we've had this released to us. It really is just Champion's Gravetender with a different face and a tail.
And prepared to claim.
Which I'm fine with that, because at least this is different compared to the frickin' Nameless King just being the Nameless King.
The life of the Night Lord.
Okay, so Mortis DM'd me a tweet from the Dark Souls Twitter. Okay, that makes total sense why I haven't seen anything about that then. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Thank you, Mortis. Appreciate that, bro. In the night, ancestral foes await remnants of a fire that once burned bright. Launches on PS, Xbox, and PC Digital in 2025. Okay. Interesting. So is this a real Dark Souls Elden Ring crossover? Yes, which means, you know, we're not going to get any damn Bloodborne Lady Maria ass elements because Sony owns that. Anyway. In before Pursuer shows up. It's too late, Fixum. So in the Ishizaki interview, he says that the players are essentially like pursuers. Now that's different from the Pursuer, but it's just kind of a little bit funny to me. Hey, Top Nathan, welcome on in. You just found out about this from a friend. Could someone tell you what's up with the Nameless King showing up? No, not really. It's just kind of asset reuse. Mortis was just saying that they came out with a tweet, which I guess I could pull that back up. And I'll show the trailer. I'll for you that part in a second. In the night, ancestral foes await remnants of a fire that once burned bright. So, I mean, if they are going to try to canonically tie in Dark Souls and Elden Ring together, I'm going to be like unironically annoyed about that. Just because I feel like those kind of theories Like, I definitely understand the appeal of it. They just kind of always made each game feel like it doesn't have as much gravitas if they were like all part of the same universe. Like, to me, it's a lot more fulfilling when Bloodborne is Bloodborne, Dark Souls is Dark Souls, Demon Souls is Demon Souls, and Elden Ring is Elden Bling.
Little pillager, bent on sacking the land.
So yeah, that's pretty much all it, like the Nameless King. It's a really quick snippet, but I mean, it's very obviously our boy Faraam. Maybe he's looking for those annals that he dropped. Maybe they fell into the lands in between the couch cushions. I don't know. No problem, Nathan. So Future Warrior Hero was saying, you feel like a lot of hype just died in you. When you think of a FromSoft game, you're expecting to invest 200 hours exploring, making your own original character, and reading endless hours of lore. Yeah, that's kind of where I am right now, to be honest. Like, even though I do enjoy a lot of the gameplay of the Soulsborns, I've kind of always felt they're a little bit clunky. Bloodborne, I think, is a lot better than Elden Ring in some ways, but Elden Ring has like much more freedom, which helps pull it ahead in other ways. So I'm not overly enthused for a game where it's supposed to be carried by like the action gameplay for it. But I know other people like Korn, a regular in the channel, really has invested like 3,000 hours in Elden Ring and has done New Game Plus so many times. So maybe something like this would be absolutely perfect for a player like that. But for me, I really liked the lore and the world building a lot more than the actual gameplay, which isn't to say that I disliked the gameplay, but it just kind of gets a little bit stale for me having to like repeat it so often. The Night King, that sounds so Game of Thrones. I know, right? Bro, how messed up would it be if it's like literally the Night King? How great would that be if like the Night King himself comes over the wall and gets stabbed by Arya Stark if you fail to kill him? Mao says this one seems to have more fluid gameplay. It's kind of hard to tell. Like, obviously what they do with the characters does seem a bit more robust, but I'm almost wondering if that's just like their special one or two moves and it's still everything else is almost identical to like Elden Ring. Scally's said, people got so tired of From games having so many holes in their lore that they said F it and decided on a game with no lore. Maybe. I mean, it's kind of how it's always been, to be honest. And I say that as a lore guy. I've always been very aware that it's been gameplay first, lore second. And the lore is just kind of like cobbled on last moment to make things fit together. But nonetheless, I still enjoy like the mental puzzle that comes along with trying to piece it all together. True Connoisseur says there's multiple Night Kings and you get to choose which one you'll face before starting your run. Is that true? And if so, like, where are you getting your information? Nathan's going to be at their monitor with a magnifying glass tonight. Jack says it's either going to be really, really good or really, really bad. I don't think it'll be really, really bad. Well, I mean, a lot of it really just depends on how good or bad the net play is. And FromSoft has historically not been on the cutting edge of a co-op experience. Galaxy Dragons hopes this is good and not just a lazy assist flip cash grab. And man, it's really wild. Like, obviously I've been a little bit negative about this as well, but I wouldn't like to hope that I'm influencing you guys too much. But it seems like I'm kind of not alone in my feelings about like the viability of this so far, which is kind of scary. Jesse says not being able to make your own character makes you feel sad. It's in the Famitsu interview? Okay, maybe I just missed it. Trying to read too quickly. What did you say? I just forgot. True Connoisseur and Blind. There's multiple Night Kings, and you choose which one you face before you're starting run. Okay. Lucia's excited for more Elden Ring, even if it's this. That's fine. Yeah, don't let our raining on your guys' parade ruin it for you. Like, this is genuinely very exciting. Even if it isn't like everything that I would want, I'm absolutely certain that this is something that somebody wants as much as I would want like a more lore focused game. So nonetheless, I do think it's really exciting seeing things like the demon centipede, even the nameless king to a degree. I am really curious to see if they're like giving them new moves, how they're going to make it actually challenging for dealing with three players at once without just being like a stat dump. What's the word? Steamroll. So hopefully they do it right, like crossing my fingers. And even if they get it wrong, one of the things that I can confidently say about FromSoft is that they are one of the most iterative companies that I've seen for like a game developer. And they try not to repeat the things that they've gotten completely wrong, and they just try to tweak things until they're in a better direction. So hopefully this will turn out well. And if this does turn out well, hopefully it'll be even better for their future projects as well. Future says, it's just that the premise sounds interesting, but based on the whole 3 day/night cycle I mentioned, it feels like you won't have a chance to explore the world. Oh, yeah, so I don't think I pointed it out, but they said that, well, take this with a huge grain of salt because we've heard this line before, but they said Limberuto is supposed to be the like same size of Limgrave, but you know, where have you heard that one before? So if it's actually supposed to be the size of a no crap Limgrave, then maybe it won't be extremely difficult to explore the world, but maybe like through 3 or 4 playthroughs, you could pretty much explore everything on like the landmass. But with it being somewhat random generated, I'm curious to see how that's going to work. Mao wants to run fast and dive bomb with wings. I mean, it does look really cool, and like being able to fly around with the hawk. Spirit Hawk also seems super cool. Lucia's been playing Darktide recently, and your second favorite game ever is Warframe. So mission-based Elden Ring is something you can at least wrap your head around. Galaxy says, is this roguelike? It seems so, because at the end of every campaign, you will restart at level 1. From IGN, Ishizaki says, there's going to be 8 boss types of final bosses in the final game, and as you progress through, these will be gradually unlocked and become available to fight. Wait, was that boss types? I thought he was talking about the player character. Which one was it? It should be here, right? Yeah. I wonder if the IGN one has a little bit more info. So there's few enemies in the Dark Souls series which appear. Okay, so yeah, the Night King does influence them coming in from a separate world. Okay. Hold on, let me look at the one before this. I don't see anything about 8 bosses. Anyway, don't want to spend too much time on that. Maybe we'll have a chance to fight Godwin. You know what? That would be one hell of a way to do it, wouldn't it? That would make a lot of sense. Oh, maybe the Night King is Godwin. How funny would that be? My original link goes to an article about the 3rd art book. My Famitsu one? This one? What the hell? Oh, okay, hold on. I think I must have like clicked something that must have opened up that other page and didn't notice. Here you go. This should be the actual article. Thanks for letting me know, Jay Rizzle. All right, Lucia, you have a good night, and thanks for joining the stream. Nathan's interested in the above-ground Nox City. We can see a box statue and architecture at 2 minutes. Yes, very exciting to see the Nox stuff. I was so excited until I learned like this is supposed to be like non-canon and not really tie into the base game of Elden Ring. And then, of course, like seeing the Night King, that... And I said the Night King, the Nameless King just kind of drives a stake in my heart. Now it says, coming from another world, where did we hear that before? The Newman? Maybe. It sucks that we hear that America's hometown is the Shaman Village, though. Yes, Nathan, it is actually supposed to be like a non-canon game. It's supposed to like take place in a parallel limb belt. The Nightreign armor looks so cool. It's such a shame our player characters in Elden Ring won't have a chance to wear it. I mean, it might get modded in eventually if you have a PC at least. Yeah, the new sets do look pretty sweet though. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead and launch the trailer again. Yeah, no problem, Nathan. Yeah, so they... Obviously, this just got announced like within the last 2 hours. So we're still like on the cusp of learning as much as we can. But they did come out with a Famitsu interview and apparently an IGN one, which I didn't have the chance to look at before going live. So there might be some more info there. And then Red Knight says Painted World. A lot of people were joking that the next Elden Ring DLC will take place in the Painted World. Well, joke's on them. It's that the next game will take place in the Painted World. Future Warrior has console. My condolences, bro. No mods for you. All right, let's go ahead and check this back out from the beginning for the fun of it. They decided they weren't going to be outdone by modders. Yeah, so I am really curious what these mist giants are. I was like, oh man, we have the Titans from the mountaintops and whatnot, and over by the Colosseum by the jar guy in Caelid. I was like, oh man, we have the moon over here. That means we're looking at it to the east. Wait, the sun's bigger than everything. And then like this doesn't matter, which is a really big buzzkill. I was so excited with the Ghost Flame stuff too. I was like, oh, the Helfin. Maybe? Question mark? Now, if we have like another type of flame, a so-called night flame, it's going to be really annoying trying to parse whether or not it's supposed to be relevant to the canonicity of the base game. And then Matthew Sargent, nice to see you again. Oh, you've been here for a while. Some new assets and bosses might be left over from the base game cutting room floor. I would imagine so. In which case, it might be worth it to try and make connections, at least as far as why those things exist at all. I mean, you're not wrong, but there's kind of like no way for us to know that unless we get like some random confirmation from one of the data miners like Lance or Zoli and whatnot. Those shadow dudes kind of remind me of what happens to the forest spirit in Princess Mononoke.
Of redemption, you were chosen, thrown together by forces beyond their control.
So yeah, it does look like we have winds that we ride on, which I do wonder how robust of a glider system this is going to be. This is where we get our Breath of the Tears of the Kingdom crossover right here. So Future Warrior was saying, you were wondering if I was going to do translated lore vids like what I did with Bloodborne Story Explained, but with other Souls games like Dark Souls and Elden Ring. So I've already covered a lot of stuff with Dark Souls. Like I went into the dark. I just released a video really recently about Lothric and Lorien. I might not do like a full story overview because quite frankly, like a lot of other content creators have done it. I try to not retread the ground that other people have done from what I've seen, just because it doesn't really interest me to like reinvent the wheel. So that's probably why I haven't done anything like that. Whereas like the Bloodborne was more of an exception because I hadn't seen anybody else cover Bloodborne the way that I had at that point. Goad Roger the Grafted? Is that where he left all his treasure in one piece? Game of the Year is about to be announced. Let us know what it is, Galeezy. Yeah, so we have Exile Soldiers. Wait, is this an ally? Oh, that's the Kaiden dude. Okay. So does he have that helmet on earlier? Because I thought it was like a veteran set when I first saw it. Because of the horns. It looks like a Gru almost. That's a cool ass helmet though. Or like an ancient dragon. Like the Dragon Knight warrior thing. That helmet is so cool though. What the hell? Alpha Nod over there, okay. Saints Bridge, Godric guy. So like another thing that's worth considering is just like how well will this game run if they would have that many warriors or enemies on screen to challenge 3 people simultaneously. Man, now my doubts are piling up even more.
Tragedy must be averted.
Nathan says, all you know is your friends and you are going to have a lot of fun with it. Excited to see some lore even if it's non-canon. Nice.
And for that...
Did he have the helmet on right then? Oh, kind of, yeah. How did I not notice that before? Oh, just because like the angle isn't that great. Oh, it's probably because I was looking at the axe. Oh.
And for that, I need your help.
Because I was like, oh man, he looks like a veteran when I saw him earlier. So that's like a whistle like torrent style. Okay. You hope they're at least using a new engine? Bro, this looks way too much like base Elden Ring for me to believe that. Now, Hokai said they said it was not canon? Correct, essentially. Well, they didn't quite say it exactly that way, but it's pretty much close enough to be that way, yeah. Hey, Matt, you're hearing it the same way that I am, that it sounds like the Harry Potter theme. It's kind of really distracting. And then, of course, like being able to see a Nox settlement is super exciting, which is even more disappointing if it's not going to be lore relevant. It's so frustrating.
Little pillager.
And so, oh yeah, with this, it looks like we might have a return of the Sekiro parry type system, although I'm gonna be honest, it looks like that parry should have failed. their weapon is not at the ready. How is this a parry? I say no, that's cheating. That's like some automatic parrying type stuff.
Bent on stacking the lands.
Hey, Adlai, nice to see you again. Astrobot won damn game of the year. Ridiculous. My condolences. And then Amplifier, welcome on in. Matthew says, you feel like the claims that this isn't going to be canon are only to get out of any narrative inconsistencies that might come from when they choose what they choose to include in the game? I mean, with like Nameless King, I don't think there's any saving grace. So of course it can't be like fully canon. Oh no, guys, I see it. This is just a reused Ludwig head. Oh no, that is what it is. It's Ludwig's head, but it's more gray this time and has like less hair on it. And it's got a bigger mouth.
And all who dare.
There's no way this makes sense? No, not at all. We found the 5 fingers? Looks like those attacks can be jumped over, which is kind of cool. And then it looks like this sword right here becomes more corporeal and like less of a whip. It's got a snake on it? No. It just like looks like it's coiling around wildly.
The life of the Night Lord.
Hey, Shy Shades, welcome on in. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe that I'm getting as well, that this might be FromSoft testing whether the combat mechanics would be more like Dragon's Dogma. So, well, I'm not as excited for this as I would have liked to have been. I do think that this could be a good step for them to go iterate on something else in the future, which is kind of disappointing to say. It's like, oh, this looks like, you know, a stepping stone of a game, but that is kind of the biggest vibe that I'm getting from this so far. Hey, Zero, nice to see you again. Matt, you really hope it's a good game? Elden Fortnite might be a good premise if they do it right. Maybe. I'm apprehensive because of how wonky it gets when you have a lot more enemies on screen in the base Elden Ring. And if they want to have like 3 people covering large areas at a time, they really need to work on how their net play interfaces with multiple people. If they want it to be a 3-person adventure pretty much always. And so, right, like having to get 3 people and not having like a dedicated like play group to go with just doesn't seem like the best experience. Like, I don't think this would be anywhere near as streamlined as something like Fortnite or League of Legends and like random lobbies. Shoot, maybe they'll like start integrating lobbies into their games or something, but I doubt it because that's not what Ishizaki made it sound like. So I could imagine that depending on how this plays out, this might be one of like their bigger flops if they're expecting like super huge numbers. I'm really curious to hear what they're thinking about this idea internally and like how much of the market they intend to capture compared to Elden Ring, the base game. Hey, Zafe, nice to see you again. Hold you? Are you scared? Hey, Nobit, nice to see you again. Yes, that was actually the unironic Nameless King. Although maybe he has a name this time around. So maybe it's the named king. Maybe we're doing him dirty. Well, if we're doing him dirty, that's what he gets for losing the damn annals of history. Global says, you can solo it? Could just be like Monster Hunter. So, right, we might be able to solo it, but if it's designed, like if they don't do any scaling based on the amount of players you have, I could foresee this being a bad time. Red Knight just wants more info? Absolutely. Hey Stella, nice to see you again. And then Zero Chill Uwu, welcome on in. The king formerly known as the named king. All right, so I really don't have too much else to say about the trailer that we haven't said so far. If you guys have any questions, feel free. I did link the Famitsu link earlier, the interview rather. I'm going to go ahead and link it for you guys again. There's an IGN one, which I have not looked at myself, but I don't want to necessarily keep you guys because I'll just be like reading it out loud. But right, it sounds like we're having like 8 base playable characters, although maybe I misread and maybe it's like 8 bosses that we fight, maybe not. But the fact that you don't make your own character is probably going to turn some people away. Amanda says, my idea of it being a low stakes self-funding development process for something greater seems on point. I mean, that's what makes the most sense to me because that's kind of how many of their games have been feeling in general, is just being like iterations on previous works. Yes, this is supposed to be a multiplayer experience for 3 players at a time. Do we know how much it'll be? I'm assuming just like $70, $60, something along those lines. I can't really imagine it being cheaper, but with that being said, I also wouldn't be shocked if it was somewhere like $40 if it's not like the most robust lore narrative driven experience, but only time will tell. For an asset flipped game, yeah. Stellus has 70, seems high. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of games are trying to hit that $70 price point, which kind of makes sense because the price of games has been static for so long. But it's also kind of infuriating because they're not really distributing physical media anymore either. Because they did say that this is going to release on PC digitally, not physically. So, yeah, I don't know. My lowball estimate would be seeing this at 40, but I don't know. I feel like their pedigree is so well known at this point that they could justify going for 60 and like not sweating the losses and assuming people will pick it up on sale later. True Connoisseur says 70 seems rough. You wouldn't pay that except under duress. So with that, Horn says free to play with macro transactions. So they did say that they weren't going to do microtransactions. I know you said macro transactions, which might be a thing. They might add in more content later. Who knows? But if so, that's kind of scary and a bit of a slippery slope that I don't want to see us sliding down. Matthew says you'd consider 50 to 60, but 70 is too much for you to justify the cost. And keep in mind, guys, I'm just talking out of my butt here. I have no idea how much it's going to cost. But I have seen more and more games starting to release at the $70 price point. So prepare yourselves. Shy Shades, as far as who made this team, so Ishizaki was the combat designer for Elden Ring, and Miyazaki asked him to step up to like direct his own game, and he's like, okay, well, I'm going to do this. And so this seems to be his pet project based off the very little of that Famitsu interview that I read. So I can't even tell you if it's the B team or the Charlie team, the C team, you know? So either way, the fact that FromSoft is kind of growing up its studio to have multiple teams working on multiple games, I think is a good thing in the extract. Wukong sold almost 25 million and it's still $60. True, but also to be fair, Wukong is a Chinese game, so 60 for them, like that conversion is probably really good for them compared to Japan, but maybe not. And that isn't to say that like good quality games don't release at 60. I'm just saying that there have been more and more games that release at 70. Global, you think they're biding their time preparing something else? Oh yeah, no, I absolutely believe that. I know a lot of people were really hoping for Armored Core 6 DLC, which I could totally see how that would work really well and integrate pretty seamlessly into that game. So I can only imagine that depending on how successful they thought AC6 was, that they'd want to work on something like that in the background as well, or maybe even like a full-on sequel, who knows. Future Warriors are going to reserve thoughts till we know more. Absolutely. If there's no physical disc, you won't get it. Other than that, you may wait till till it comes out and see some PvE. Yeah, well, there will be a disc at least for the consoles, I'm assuming. Although that is a big assumption, isn't it? I mean, they'll probably want to sell. Okay, it would make total sense for them to do like physical releases, collector's edition. Oh, you buy the collector's edition, you get Nameless King and his Drake. $300, please. And us fans will pay it. Mortis says, it's a strange genre for the first Elden Ring spinoff. Is it though? Because I mean, BRs have dominated for a while, and they're kind of like roguelites, and this isn't a PvP oriented game, so it makes a lot of sense to me that you could have like a BR PvE experience. And you like Gambit, don't you? So, yeah. Hey, Chadwick, how's it going? You know, just a new game announcement. How about you? This is a FromSoft glorified fighting game while they make Bloodborne 2? Sure. That's totally understandable, Cantrell. I'm the same way. They do say that you can play this solo, but I don't know if you're going to even need to have your internet connection the entire time, or if it'll be an offline experience so you can enjoy either. All right, Future Warrior Hero, you have a good night, and thanks for dropping by. Yes, Chadwick, this is unironically a real thing. I've spent like the last hour talking about it. Yeah, so at this point, I really don't think I can say too much new or too much that we haven't heard from me already. So I'm considering ending the stream now and maybe like hopping over to Path of Exile 2 in a little bit. But maybe not. Maybe just checking what else came out with the Game Awards. I don't know. And then, yeah, you guys are saying Astrobot won Game of the Year. I don't know. I mean, I think it's really easy to dunk on something we all haven't played. But that's kind of what also happened with It Takes Two. But apparently, like, those are all genuinely good games. So, no, but you thought it was a mod at first? Like, honestly, I've said this already on the stream, but when I saw this portion the first time when I messed up my reaction video, I was like, this looks like a mod when you have like the Nameless King plus like the super high res model of Alphanod running around off to the side compared to like the goofy ass grass and shrubbery here. There's a Ninja Gaiden game by the Game Kitchen. Wait, really? Like an actual Ninja Gaiden, like licensed? It's Sony's Mario? That used to be the Sackboy, but apparently Astro Boy has taken his place. Or Astrobot. I called him Astro Boy. That's a different franchise entirely. Cantrell says, why do people care about a puffed up award show? It's because the Game Awards encourages people to vote for what they want, and then they just kind of ignore what the votes are, which I think makes a lot of sense because then you're not really doing a real Game Awards as much as it is a popularity contest, and you're actually like not giving them as much weight as they probably should deserve. I think that if you're going to award it, like, votes to like your Game of the Year, then you should have played every game that is on that list, which I think is unrealistic for the vast majority of players. Like, yeah, it's just kind of untenable. Oh, they're bringing back View. That's cool. It Takes Two is awesome unless your relationship is actually toxic. Witcher 4 and Borderlands 4? Yeah, I heard the Witcher 4 rumors. That's not too surprising. I'm a little bit surprised at the Borderlands 4. Cantrell says, the fact that people didn't know it was going to be that from the start says a lot. I don't know, because I feel like a lot of people write off Astrobot really easily because it does look like a game made for babies, even though it is like really good. But that's probably why it's Game of the Year, because it has truly timeless appeal. So yeah. Imagine an Elden Ring world builder where you can make your own legacy dungeon with bosses. There kind of are games like that. I saw a really neat like Link to the Past type dungeon builder trailer the other day. I'm really bad at remembering names. I don't even remember if I posted that onto like the video game news channel in the Discord. Kentrell says that's what an award show would be, corporate backpatting. Well, I mean, of course, but at the very least, it's exciting getting a bunch of trailers like this, world premieres. There is some legitimate hype up along with it. It does suck, though, that a lot of that hype is also piggybacked by like a bunch of ads, which you may have like no interest in whatsoever. So at the end of the day, if you're not interested in the award show, you don't have to watch it, and you can just watch the trailers later, like now. Adlai says, why are your messages not coming through? I'm not sure. I thought I've seen them. You've been talking about Ryu Hayabusa? Wait, there's an Okami trailer? Is there new Okami news? I did not look at anything in the Game Awards except when Mortis was losing his mind in the Discord right after I finished eating. So, okay, folks, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop waffling and wasting time if you guys have stuck around this far, especially if you're watching the VOD. So I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. I think I will not switch over to Path of Exile 2 tonight, and I'll just resume the playthrough tomorrow, have like the normal stream time and things, so that way people don't get like bamboozled and whatnot and be like, oh, what happened? So even though I'm sure like you guys have like the normal amount of regulars anyway, but we have like a bunch of extra people as well, which is very nice to have. But anyway, we'll be going live tomorrow at the same time of 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you all so much for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the show, whether it be my show or the Game Awards. So until then, take care, stay safe. Last Protagonist out.